Hi guys, welcome back to web scraping and mapping dam levels in Python. This will be the last video of this course series, and in this video we will be adding our KPI. Okay, so let's open up our views.py file, and now let us add one more data set that will get our mean dam level value for all our dams in the region. So we are going to say, or we are going to define a method called average dam level, and then we are basically going to create a pandas data frame again, so we can copy that line and paste it. And the next thing that we have to do is we have to create a variable called mean equals, and now we are going to filter this week's dam level values. So we are going to take the field called this week, right, and we are going to say dot mean. So we are going to use the pandas mean method to calculate the mean value for that field, right? So that is df. We are going to filter by this week dot mean. Okay, so this will give us the mean of this week's dam levels. Okay, and now we are going to convert that mean value from decimal to integer. So it's mean int equals int to cast it to an integer, and then we are going to take the value, the mean value that we get from calculating the mean of this column, and then we are going to cast it to an integer, right? And when we are done with that, we are going to return that mean value. So we return mean int. And now let us add that function to our view. So we add a comma, and then we are going to call it mean level, and then we are going to add the average dam level function that will give us the mean value, and then we control S to save that. So we have our mean dam level value that we calculated from this average dam level function, and we returned it as an integer to our front end. Okay, so now that we have added that, let us go back to our index.html and let's add our KPI. We are going to call it var info. So info is just another dialog that is similar to our right sidebar. So it's got the same CSS style as that, and I just called it info. Okay, equals L dot control, and then the position of our KPI is at the top right corner. So we say position top right, and then we are going to add some code to our info dialog or our info form. So it's info dot on add equals function map, and now let us create a div section on our info dialog, or let us just call it the KPI. Okay, so but technically it's called a dialogue. Okay, but anyway, so it's var div. We are going to add a div, and then we say l dot dom util document object model utility dot create div. So this is going to create an HTML div element using JavaScript, and then the ID of that div is going to be called info. And now let us add the label for our div, or the title that you are going to see at the top of the div. So it's div dot inner HTML plus equals. So we are going to create a level 1 heading, and we are going to add a teardrop icon. So we say class equals fa tint. And now let us close off that icon. And now let us add the text. We are going to call it, which is the title, storage level mean. And then we add a percentage sign. And now we are going to close off that level 1 heading. And then we are going to add a new line by adding a break element. And now we are going to use our mean level value that we derive from our home view, and we are first going to write an if statement that will check if that mean level value is above 50, right? If it's above 50%, then we are going to change the color of the arrow to green, and if it's below 50% or below 50, we are going to change that arrow to a down arrow, and we are going to change the color of the arrow to red. Okay, so let us add the logic that will do that. So first we check the value of our mean level. So it's if mean level is less than 50, then div.inner HTML. So now we are going to add the value as well as our KPI, which is a green or red arrow facing up or down. So if it's less than 50, then add a red arrow that is pointing down. So we first add a level 1 heading tag, and now we style it, set the font size to 150 pixels, and then we are going to add the icon called fa caret down. So it's going to be an arrow facing down, and we are also going to change the color of that arrow. So we style to red, color red. So if it's red, it means that we have less than 50% of water stored in our dams, and if it's green, it means that we have more than 50% of water stored in our dams. And then we close off our icon and we add a bold tag to make the value stand out. And now we are going to add the actual value of the actual mean value, right? So it's stored in mean level. And remember, if we go back to views.py, this is the name of the value that we are getting from that function. We are calling it mean level, and we are going to take that value that we calculated from this function, and we are going to use that. So that value is stored in here. And now we add a percentage sign next to it so that we can show that that value is a percentage value. And then we close off the bold element and we close the level 1 heading. Okay, and then we add our quotation marks because this is a string. Okay, and then we add another quotation mark to close that off, and then we add a semicolon. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that line over to avoid making a mistake. Okay, and now we are going to add an else case. So if the mean level value is less than 50 or 50%, then change the arrow to a down facing arrow and change its color to red, right? And if the value is greater than 50 or 50%, we're going to say else. We are going to copy this and paste it again in the else statement. And then if it's more than 50%, we are going to add an upward facing arrow. So it's FA caret up. And then we are going to change the color to green. And that is it. And now let us end our if statement. So we are going to say end if, and once we have done that, we are going to return this div, right? So we basically created our HTML code using the document object model using JavaScript. So we return the div, and then we can close off this function with a semicolon, and now we are going to say info dot add to map. So we are going to add this KPI dialog that we created to the map, and hopefully we haven't made any spelling mistakes or any syntax errors, and we should now be able to see our KPI when we load our application. So let us run the server. Let's open up our web browser and then go to localhost port 8000. And as you can see, we have created our KPI. So this dialog right here, which we called info, we styled it accordingly because we have a mean storage level of greater than 50%, which is 61%. We are in the green, so we have a green upward facing arrow. But if it was less than 50%, we would have a downward red facing arrow. So now let us test that to see if our code logic is actually working. But before that, let us take out our sidebar. So as you can see, our application is basically complete, right? And let us just test and see if our KPI is working correctly. Close that. We go back to our code and let us change this less than to a greater than. So if the mean level is greater than 50, then we are going to add a downward facing arrow and we are going to change its color to red. So we just want to see if our logic is working. Control S, and now let us reload our page. And you should see our arrow is now facing downwards. Okay, and its color is red. So our KPI is working, right? And it's dependent on our mean storage level. Now let us go back and change the code and correct it. Okay, so it's a less than. We save, we go back, reload the application, and as you can see, it is now correct. Okay, so thank you guys for tuning in, and congratulations if you have made it this far. And I hope you guys will have learned quite a lot. And since we have covered many areas of programming for GIS, especially for WebGIS, and I hope you guys will be able to take these skills and apply them into your various fields, as well as build on this application if you wish. And thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next course. Thank you.